making today's front pages and the implications driving public discourse. Joining us is Oluwaseun Oluwole, aviation expert and public affairs analyst.
And for our big story, we shift from policy to people, beyond charity, how mentorship, health advocacy, and gender-based violence prevention are transforming women's lives across Nigeria. Women-led initiatives are moving empowerment from relief to resilience, from support to sustainable change.
We'll be joined by Ogunremi Owunyindamola Aramide, founder and director of Ability Women and Girl Child Empowerment Initiative, whose work spans mentorship, health advocacy, and gender-based violence prevention.
And as always, we round off with Trend Watch on this show, tracking the conversations shaping public attention across social and civic spaces.
This is Daybreak Live Extra on Dominion Television.
Stay with us. A lot to be discussed on this show this morning.
Much more. Good morning to you, Samson, this morning.
Good to be here again to talk on major stories shaping conversations across the country. And we must not forget that yesterday, the president made a very bold statement, and that has a lot to do with a huge shake-up to the security architecture in the country. And that happens to be something most Nigerians have been clamoring for a long time, which is state policing, local policing, as some will call it. In some places, especially in the southwest, we have the Western Security Network, WNSN, that is the Amotekun Corps. And I think in the eastern part of the country, they have Eastern Security Network, ESN in some places. And then you have what you call ISBA in some northern states. Some will ask questions. What's the fate of these state-based, state-created and regional-created security networks, especially with the new innovation by the president urging the Senate to make sure that the 1999 Constitution is amended to contain the provision for state policing. It's a very big development and a bold statement from the president. And there is one person that hasn't shied away from making some strategic moves, especially when it concerns security. And we have seen a huge shake-up in that aspect recently. The change of the Inspector General of Police from Kayode Egbetokun to now Tunji Disu, who is now acting Inspector General of Police. A lot of things have been done over and over again, and you begin to look at what direction these policies are heading to. But then, yesterday was what some people will call an history-making day for Nigeria. The president, who has actually clamored for some of these things before, has now come out to say it's not about procrastination anymore. It's about us doing the right thing at this time and doing the right thing by Nigerians. Senate, go back to your chambers. Make sure there is a Nigerian constitution, especially in terms of security, that accommodates state police. And we have to start now. It's a very big one anyway. I
mean, it's something to even think about right now, that security has been, insecurity, I meant to say, has been the order of the day in many parts of the country. And it's something that calls for urgent, imagined approach. And that's exactly what we are seeing right now. Because if you have to check what is obtainable across the world, you would say that how many police officers do we even have in the country? Some would say about 250 to 370,000. And they are supposed to manage people of about 245 million, in population. And you see, according to United Nations recommendation, the ratio has to be about 1 officer to 450 citizens. But as we speak now with that number, Nigeria is just 1 officer to about 540 people. So that's really overboard. So you can tell that there is a lapse. There's something that needs to be done. And that's exactly state policing as we speak. That is important to now that it becomes a conversation that we are now really focusing on. And again, just look at it. It requires about 2/3 of the House, for example, the state houses of assembly. So this will require not just the Senate or the House of Reps alone, but every other state houses of assembly must also contribute to this. About maybe 24 out of 36 states should approve that, and that's about 2/3 of them must act for that to happen. I mean, the constitutional amendment. And we can also start the conversation to say that the constitutional alteration is not something that is new because it's been on the table of the Senate recently. There's been a lot of conversations around that. Section 9 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. So there's already a conversation around it. But state policing has to come first as a priority because you understand that if people are being killed, Nigeria is losing its resources, and we don't want to lose our human resource, human capital, which is, of course, one of the bedrock of any developing society. If there is a society that is growing, that is developing, that is improving, that is advancing, then people are the core of that reality. So we want to say, now let's focus more on people, because people will actually help us eventually. So moving on from then, maybe I'll just say that the the president will need to also secure buy-in from a lot of governors. But there's one issue that I've also always mentioned, especially when it comes to state policing. Why I believe it's a development. There's issues of maybe governors using it to their own advantage, right? So I'm thinking in that constitutional amendment, there should be a jurisdiction or a reform process that ensures that that is not done, right? Constitutionally approved by the country, to be that, okay, so they look out for the loopholes that could come from that. There's also the issue of ethnic solidarity. So there could be fightings, across states. There could be ethnic war, or should we say disagreement that can lead to something that might boomerang into something very bad for the country. So these are one of the things I think they should do. They should not just, I don't want them to wake up to this, to just say, oh, just do this. They have to look at the loopholes. They have to look at the pros, the cons, and settle, make it peculiar. Yeah, because that's one way to tackle the issue. Because we know these people will be on the ground to see what's obtainable in my area, in your area. So they are looking, there's a saying, in the eyes of the king is everywhere. It's at the market, is at the house, and that makes a lot of sense to say that would really up our game when it comes to security. Again, another issue is that there's going to be more intentional funding for that unit. Why? Because you understand how much, because the global market is not even smiling. You want to buy machineries, you want to buy guns and all of those ammunitions for them, and that costs a lot of money. So who's going to be responsible? State government or the federal government? That's also one of the things they should put on the table. Because if you have to say state government, that means Lagos State can actually pay more in terms of maybe in IGR and then maybe allocation as well. They can do more than some other states, for example. States that do not have so much IGR might suffer if it has to be sponsored by the states directly, right? Because you understand behind all of this, there's a financial implication of that. There has to be a lot of money going into it, not just for ammunition, but also for the welfare of the people they are bringing on board. And again, we need a structured security, how do we put it now? Training for these people, right? Because it's not just okay to say we want to have this and then we are just recruiting people without really doing a lot of. We need to do a lot of testing, a lot of training to make this work. We need to help them to. There's so much to talk about because we see in developed countries where you have sheriffs speaking to citizens, but because they understand what they should say and what they should not say. So even if you find a sheriff that is defaulting or that is saying something wrong, it's probably tapped. Right, so whatever he's saying, sometimes they have head cam, body cam to say that okay, so we are having a conversation with a civilian or a citizen of the country, and we are speaking to the person. If everything wants to go, so even if that man shoots, it will not be that he's trigger happy, but he's shooting in self-defense because you understand it's supposed to be the police that would make things calm in the states or wherever it's posted. So I'm saying that there's a lot of intelligence that must go into planning this, not just waking up to say this is what we want to do, but it has to be those, the fabrics of these things, the intricacies, the complications and all of that must be tackled right before we even start. So I'm saying it's a welcome idea. The Senate should go ahead and do what they should do, but much more importantly, let us have those structures embedded, those foundations embedded into this constitutional amendment.
Well, just like you rightly said, it's not about the federal government alone when it comes to decision making on what state policing will look like in the country. It's a collective responsibility of 2/3 of all states in Nigeria. Out of 36, they must have at least like 24 to make sure that that is done. And once that is passed, every other state, they have no choice than to join the bandwagon and say, look, this is what is good for the nation at this time. And if you look at the police architecture in this country and as against what is obtainable across the globe. In Nigeria, the government controls the police through the president, Commander-in-Chief of Armed Forces, and the Police Service Commission and also the Inspector General of Police. That's the structure. So it's more or less like a three-wheeled vehicle, and one doesn't work without the other. So all works together. But though all those officers are posted to states, but then they ultimately report to Abuja, not to state governors or to state government, which comes about government and governors feeling there might be likelihood of not being able to control. And you also said that if the federal government can work, or maybe the Senate can put a clause that says governors cannot use state police officers to their own advantage. I think that would be really, really difficult.
Especially politically.
Yeah, that would be very difficult, because as it stands, they will tell you, oh, we don't have access, we don't control the police. But when the election comes, they know what exactly to do. When they want to go out and then they need an entourage, they know, you know how many police officers will follow each and every one of them. Not until the president said, look, there is nothing like that anymore. We are probably withdrawing every police officer that is currently working as an aide to anybody out there, regardless of how highly placed you are, and then we'll be replacing them with, civil defense, and in some cases, some DSS officers have also taken that responsibility, which for me, they should focus on intelligence and also swift actions, especially in the case of terrorism and other things. But then, if you check what other things we should be looking at, is argument for and against. Some people have raised arguments about what is obtainable, what might likely happen eventually. Some argue that, just like you said, fear of governors using them politically, risk of ethnic and sectional bias. Well, if you check other countries too, especially the US, that you are from Michigan does not mean you cannot be a police officer in Indianapolis. So that still doesn't matter. You can be a police officer in Oyo State, even though you are from Kano State. If you have what it takes, you might have been, what they are trying to look at is that you don't know the terrain. So if the federal government transfers you from Abuja to Ibadan, you still have to learn the language, you learn the culture, and then you learn to know these places. Imagine you have been seconded to arrest a criminal at Challenge, and you don't even know the place. So how do you navigate the areas? So that is why state policing is very important. There has to be someone that knows the place, knows the terrain, knows these people. Even if you don't know the people, you know the likely places they might be in your state. So also, just like we are saying, if you are from the north and you have resided in Oyo State for a long time, that does not stop you from being a police officer. Again, another thing is funding challenges for weaker states. Where, just like you said earlier, Lagos might be able to finance this without having any issue. Port Harcourt, River State can do this without having any issues. And Akwa Ibom, for example, also, they can do that. Ondo State, yes, also gets 13% derivation from crude sales. Yes, they can also fund this. They might not likely have too much issues. In fact, that state was one of the states that championed during the the time of Rotimi Akeredolu Aketi at that time, former governor of Ondo State. He was practically the one that championed the creation of Amotekun Corps at that time. It was always in Ibadan, holding meetings there and there, regardless of party affiliation. Seyi Makinde was of the PDP, he was of the APC, but he was hobnobbing with every governor in the Southwest. Even Lagos State, that felt like they did not need the service of Amotekun Corps, was a major contributor to what was going on. And then it was eventually created. And now, so in some places, they are enjoying what is going on, especially what the Amotekun Corps. They've been arresting criminals, handing them over to the police, prosecuting them, making sure that no one commits a crime and goes scot-free. That, for me, if harnessed, can be a strength, a core strength. And lastly, when we talk about concerns, about fragmentation and national security, this could further disintegrate a country like Nigeria, especially in a place where ethnic and religious bigotry is the order of the day. You might want to, we'll get to a stage where some people will now say, oh, because you are recruiting police, there has to be 50% Christians, 50% Muslims, and then the traditional worshippers will also come and say, look, we have been sidelined, we have not been given any slots. This will cause issues. But then how do we address this? It should be addressed from the beginning, when the constitution is being made. So that when the time comes, nobody will say, oh, we have been marginalized, oh, we are not being carried along. That will be a major problem. And then what is obtainable in some other places? Let's use United States as a case study. We have the city police, they have the county sheriffs, and they have state police. Then you talk about the FBI. Aside from that, there are several other bureaus, agencies, which also works with security. So when people talk about, oh, duplication of responsibility, I laugh. Because It is only when you don't know what you are doing that you say you are duplicating responsibilities. We have seen it happen in Nigeria, and I think there should be a clear-cut job responsibilities for every ministry, MDA, parastatals, paramilitary, military. Know what your job is about. We have seen VIO officers taking on the responsibility of road safety. We have seen road safety taking on the responsibility of a police officer. It's not your job. You should know what your job is about. And ultimately, the people must understand, oh, if so person stops me, this is the extent with which you can go. And you cannot do more than this. So that you can also prevent them from doing what they are not meant to do. Because eventually, when it comes to the people trying to, feed off you, they feed fat on other people. They know what to do. They bring other responsibilities to the fore, and then it will be like, oh, we are still doing our job. We can do that. The police is our sister agency. When we catch you, we can transfer you. It's not your job, my friend. Focus on what you have been assigned to do. And lastly, I would have talked about Canada, but I will just go on and on and on. But then let's talk about this issue that has been a major problem. There is a model in Lagos State that has been honed for God knows how long when it comes to community policing. I think Lagos should be a model for every other state, because it is only Lagos that has successfully tried this. They are still doing it, and they can, in fact, they don't have to do too much recruitment when it comes to state policing anymore. They can just adopt what they have with the current setup they currently use. There was a time there was RRS. In fact, the current Inspector General of Police in Nigeria now, Acting Inspector General of Police, was the first commander of the IRS in Lagos. That is talking about Tuji Disu. Was the first commander of the IRS. And Lagos happened to be a place where one chance was the order of the day. At that time, phone snatching was, in fact, it was rampant. Anywhere you are, if care is not taken, after snatching your phone, you could be snatched. But then he restored normalcy to Lagos. He made sure that everyone, yes, you cannot totally eradicate crime, right? There's no way around the world. No matter how minute it could be, there will still be crime. Someone will commit crime. That's the human nature. But then, if you can reduce it to bare minimum, that gives you the headway. That gives you the understanding of the fact that you have a security architecture that is working. I was about to remember the strong community integration of the Lagos State LNSC. I'll try to remember the name. Rapid intelligence gathering, sustainable funding via private sector, which is being done in Lagos State. There's something called the Lagos State Security Trust Fund. Even individuals, companies, they contribute to that post. It once happened in Oyo State under the watch of Governor Isiaq Abiola Ajimobi, the late former senator. There was something called the Oyo State Security Trust Fund, right? There was something also like a health funding like that, championed by, I remember his name, it was a former gubernatorial candidate, Aziz Adeduton, Dr. Aziz Adeduton was in charge of health at that time. But the current Minister of Power, Chief Bayo Adelabo, was the chairman of your State Security Trust Fund. Then at that time, all the CCTV cameras you now see, there's one at Challenge, I know that one very well. There's one at Iwo Road. It was installed across, the city centers and even some places outside of Ibadan at that time, where you can monitor strategic junctions, areas, even from the comfort of the government house. You can, at least from the government house, you can know and plan that, oh, there is conflict going on in social places across the state. That's what, I don't know the state of that facility as we speak, but I can assure you that if you check those cameras at Challenge, for example, the one at Challenge, I'm not too sure it's working. I am not sure, because the state shows exactly what it looks. If you see what it looks like, you know what the state will look like, especially at the government house.
Let me just join what you said, because I think I mentioned it, and I think you've also reiterated that point, that it takes so much to really make this happen. If we really want to make this work, then we have to spend so much. It requires a lot of funding. Like, for example, like you mentioned the security architecture in the United States, and I saw that you mentioned Sheriff aside from the state police and all of that, but it's okay. But one of the things I'm more concerned about is that an average sheriff officer, maybe 2 or 3, because sometimes they copulate them, not in terms of copulation, but they merge them to become 2, and then they send them. So they have vehicles. Sometimes they have patrol vehicles. They have communication systems connected to the state unit where everything is being managed. So there's a camera, there's a CCTV camera somewhere or everywhere. So everybody's saying they're reporting. So we are on a chase now. We are chasing a man. He's wearing black. He's driving an SUV. So this is where we are, district something. And then there's communication. And once there's communication, you can tell that these people actually, you get to the end of the issue if there's really proper communication. But that also goes into intelligence. That goes into education. We've talked about police brutality in the country, Nigeria, and we might also see that, especially if these people are given the power without training. If they are given power without constitutional understanding of what they're supposed to, like you said, let them get their roles.
That's why I said 6 months is not enough to train.
Exactly. So that's another point, is to say there should be a piloting of this. It shouldn't just be no subsidy has gone. Yeah, it should not be that. No subsidy. Yeah, no. It should not be that. It should be that. Oh yes, let's pilot it in something. Of course, states like Oyo, Ondo are already at Osun, the southwest states really with Amotekun, and you can see that there's an improvement somewhere. There's something going on, and we are.
I was trying to remember Lagos State Neighborhood Safety Corps, which was created under the Lagos State Neighborhood Safety Corps Law 2016. Yeah.
And again, one of the things I would like to also mention is this. The Senate really should have a time frame for this. Because this time we know how it is in Nigeria. They can take this forever until things go south. And we don't want that. So, yes, and make it political. So now say, oh yes, the election is very close. This is what we are starting, and then they make it all political. Let's make it constitutional, not political. Because if you make it political, it's just we want this to our credit, we want this to our accounts. It is not really about the people, right? Because we know security is not smiling now in the country. There are many places you can't go to without praying twice or praying all along the way. Because you understand that people, they are kidnapping everybody anywhere, anyhow, right? So you have to understand why this is important and why it should be done now. We need to have these structures in place because we need a better Nigeria that is safe for everybody. You know, I know we should have this pilot stage and let it start. Let's hit the ground running, like they say.
Okay. Well, I do know that one thing is clear. What we have seen recently, the people have woken up to their responsibilities, criticizing constructively, and when something happens and they feel like this is not what we think would work in Nigeria, usually eyebrows are raised and people speak up and ask questions. We have seen policies being thrown out there by the government, and then some people say, hey, look, we don't think this is going to work. And then it is being retracted and then modified and then brought out again. And you see that people will accept it the way it is. So let's just keep our fingers crossed. The president has made the statement. It is the onus now lies on the Senate to do the needful. And once that is done, I want to believe that they're going to take enough time. Not like the electoral law that was passed, 10 pages each. I mean, who's reading that? Nobody is really reading anything. Oh, from page 1 to 10, if you support say hi, if you support say nay, who does that in this? I mean, it's only Nigeria. It happens in Nigeria anyway. But then when it comes to security, we should pay proper attention to what is necessary. Away from there, we'll take weather report on this show this morning. And that is, we'll be starting with the ancient city of Ibadan, what the weather looks like in Ibadan. As we speak, Ibadan southwest. And later in the morning, it will rise by 4 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius, with humidity expected to be around 1%. It will be partly cloudy. And in the afternoon, it will rise further to 36 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, humidity at 0%. It will be partly cloudy in the evening, with weather dropping to 28 degrees Celsius, and humidity is expected to be around 4%. While overnight, it will be mostly clear, 25 degrees Celsius, humidity at 2% in Ibadan today.
About 117 kilometers away from Ibadan, now to Lagos, and that's because the weather is partly cloudy in Lagos. There's similarities and quite a number of differences as well. At 27 degrees Celsius across board. But later in the morning, the weather in Lagos would be around 30 degrees Celsius, and it will be mostly cloudy. There's a chance of drops maybe at 30% humidity. And then it rises in the afternoon by 1 degree Celsius, and it will be mostly cloudy by then. There's not so much significant differences between morning and afternoon. And right there in the evening, there's just 1 degree Celsius drop to 29 degrees Celsius, and it's expected to be mostly cloudy. And then a further drop by 2 degrees Celsius to 27 degrees Celsius overnight. And then the weather will become mostly clear in Lagos today. All
right, I'm moving from Lagos to Ekiti, and that is Ekiti southwest. This morning, weather currently feels like 23 degrees Celsius in Ekiti. And later in the morning, it will rise by 5 degrees Celsius to 28 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy. In the afternoon, it will remain partly cloudy, with weather jumping to 34 degrees Celsius, humidity at 1%. But there will be a sharp drop to 27 degrees Celsius in the evening, partly cloudy. And overnight, it will drop further to 23 degrees Celsius, still partly cloudy with humidity at 3% in Ekiti today.
And still in southwest, Abeokuta South is where I land at 26 degrees Celsius. The weather will become mostly cloudy across board in Abeokuta South, Ogun State today. And in the morning, it's that at 30 degrees Celsius. It's expected to be mostly cloudy in many parts of Abeokuta South today. And of course, later in the afternoon, there's a significant increase to 36 degrees Celsius. And then the weather remains mostly cloudy at 1% humidity. And in the evening, there's a drop to 28 degrees Celsius significantly, and it will remain partly cloudy. It will remain mostly clear overnight at 26 degrees Celsius, dropping 2 degrees Celsius from 28 to 26 overnight in Abeokuta South, Ogun State today.
All right, still in the south, but I'll be taking this from the southeast this morning, and that is Enugu, in Enugu State. Weather in Enugu, as we speak, currently feels like 24 degrees Celsius. And later in the morning, it will rise by 6 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius, while it remains partly cloudy, just like in some other parts of the country this morning. In the afternoon, it will rise by 6 degrees Celsius again to 36 degrees Celsius, remaining partly cloudy, humidity at 0%. In the evening, there will be a huge drop to 28 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy. And overnight, it will drop further to 23 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, and humidity expected to be around 2% in Enugu this morning.
And from Enugu to Ilorin South, because the weather remains the same at 24 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy across board. And in the morning, it starts at 29 degrees Celsius, expected to be mostly cloudy. And the afternoon as well, there's a sharp increase to 37 degrees Celsius, about 8 degrees Celsius upward. To become mostly cloudy as well at 37. And of course, there's a sharp drop as well in the evening to 30 degrees Celsius, about 7 degrees Celsius decrease to become partly cloudy in the evening. And overnight, a further decrease of 6 degrees Celsius, and then weather will remain clear in Ilorin South, Kwara State today.
All right, joining Hanu in the North Central this morning. I will be doing that in the FCT, Federal Capital Territory, and that's Abuja. As we speak, weather in Abuja is mostly cloudy at 22 degrees Celsius. But by later in the morning, it will rise to 30 degrees Celsius, a very sharp rise to 30 degrees Celsius, expected to be partly cloudy right there. It will rise further to 35 degrees Celsius, remaining partly cloudy in the afternoon. And by evening, it drops to 28 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy. And overnight, the weather will be clear at 24 degrees Celsius in Abuja today.
And in the largest state in the country, that's Niger State, Suleja is where I land at 23 degrees Celsius. The weather is mostly cloudy across board, and in the morning starts with 30 degrees Celsius, expected to be partly cloudy, and then a 6 degrees Celsius increase to 36 in the afternoon, expected to be partly cloudy as well. And in the evening, there's a decrease to about 28 degrees Celsius. That's about 8 degrees Celsius decrease to become partly cloudy. And there's also a further decrease to 25 degrees Celsius overnight to become clear in Suleja, Niger State today.
All right, so moving on to the northwest this morning, and that is talking about Kano. We take this report from Kano. As we speak, weather in Kano State currently feels like 17 degrees Celsius, and it is currently partly cloudy right there. Later in the morning, it will rise to 25 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy. By afternoon, it will rise further to 32 degrees Celsius, also remaining partly cloudy right there. It will be mostly clear in the evening, with weather dropping to 23 degrees Celsius, while it will be clear overnight at 17 degrees Celsius in Kano today.
And in Maiduguri, Borno State, the weather is averagely cloudy today at 17 degrees Celsius. And in the morning, it starts with 26 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy. And then a sharp rise to 32 degrees Celsius, and to be expected to be mostly cloudy as well. Then a further drive, okay, that's a drop about significantly to 22 degrees. That's 10 degrees Celsius drop to become partly cloudy in the evening. And overnight, it drops much further to become clear at 16 degrees Celsius in Maiduguri, Borno State today.
All right, Kaduna is 2 degrees ahead of Kano and Borno as we speak at 19 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy. It will be a sharp rise to 27 degrees Celsius later in the morning, remaining partly cloudy, while it will also be partly cloudy in the afternoon, rising to 33 degrees Celsius. And by evening, it drops to 25 degrees Celsius, and it's expected to be mostly clear. And overnight, it will be clear at 20 degrees Celsius right there in Kaduna, Kaduna North today. And that will be all we can take on Weather Report. Do well to link up with us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X, formerly Twitter, at Dominion Cast. You can watch us live on our website at www.dominion.org.ng, dominion.org.ng. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Dominion Broadcast, and on our Facebook at Dominion Broadcast Television. It is time to go on a short break. And when we return, we take the news. We'll be back.
Hello and welcome to Daybreak News on Dominion Television. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun. The Senate Committee on Finance has issued a warrant of arrest against the Registrar General of the Corporate Affairs Commission, Zeni Ishaq Magaji, for allegedly failing to honor repeated invitations. The warrant was announced during the budget defense session involving the Federal Ministry of Finance and its agencies. Committee Chairman Senator Sani Musa accused the CAC board of ignoring legislative summons and failing to address concerns over revenue reconciliation. Lawmakers also resolved to withhold approval of the Commission's 2026 budget and restrict access to its internally generated revenue, pending its appearance. The CAC had yet to respond at the time of the report. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission said it has uncovered signs of price manipulation by some domestic airlines during the December 2025 festive season. In an interim report, the Commission noted that ticket fares during the peak period were significantly higher than January 2026 prices, despite stable aviation, fuel costs, taxes, and foreign exchange rates. The findings followed an industry-wide investigation launched in January. The FCCPC said the pricing differences appear to reflect discretionary decisions by airlines rather than external cost pressures. The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohamed Ali Patel, has flagged off free cancer screening for 1,000 people at the Alex Ekweme Federal University Teaching Hospital in Ebonyi State. The exercise marks the 2026 World Cancer Day and forms part of a nationwide initiative. Represented by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, the Minister said cancer accounts for about 10,000 deaths annually in Nigeria and stressed that early detection saves lives. He added that patients diagnosed during the screening would receive treatment support. Governor Francis Iwefu commended the federal government for selecting Ebonyi to host the program. The National Universities Commission has warned against the misuse and indiscriminate conferment of honorary doctorate degrees in Nigerian universities. In a statement, the Commission unveiled a 16-point guideline to regulate the award and use of honorary doctorate, stressing that sanctions will apply to institutions and individuals who violate the rules. The NUC said only approved universities that have graduated PhD students can confer honorary degrees, and no more than 3 awards may be given at a convocation. It also clarified that honorary doctorate holders must not use the title doctor, as it is reserved for earned academic degrees and medical professionals. The Commission said the guidelines are aimed at protecting the integrity and global standing of Nigeria's university system. The Registrar of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board has said that Nigeria's central admission system has fully transitioned into the digital era. He noted that the move would improve efficiency and strengthen the integrity of the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, the gateway to tertiary education in the country. Taiwo Olarewaju reports.
The Registrar of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, Isiaq Oloyede, has announced the completion of a decade-long automation process, declaring that Nigeria's central admissions examination system has fully transitioned into the digital era. Oloyede made the disclosure at its stakeholders engagement forum, where he explained that the latest phase of the reform focuses on automating the question authoring process. According to him, the new system eliminates the need for physical gatherings of examiners and reduces the risk of human interface in the setting of examination questions.
Do the last round of our automation process. Some 9-10 years ago, we started the automation of the process of examination of UTME and other examinations that we partake. We thank God those who draft questions for us. They have been always running from one part of the country to the other in trying to set our questions. And the final stage, the last phase of it, which we are witnessing here today. What it means is that it makes things easier, it makes things cheaper for us, and it makes it less tedious for us, because, and efficiency, of course, will be improved.
He also used the opportunity to firmly reject calls for dialogue with individuals implicated in examination malpractices who are currently outside the country.
How would such a person now be asking me to negotiate with criminals who have been found to be that what we should do is to monitor them very well? What of the students that they have permanently damaged their career?
Also speaking at the event, the Vice Chancellor of the Federal University of Technology, Akure, Professor Adenike Oladiji, described the automation initiative as a significant milestone.
It's a quality assurance process for us. We are interested in knowing how the process goes right from the beginning. So we want to see from the setting of the questions, the processes it takes, ensuring the quality of the questions, and then when the students come to us, we know that they are foolproof students.
As the board consolidates on digital reforms, Stakeholders say the move is expected to boost public confidence in Nigeria's examination and admission system while reinforcing efforts to curb malpractice and safeguard academic standards. Taiwo Olanrewaju, reporting for Dominion News.
Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde has increased monthly payments for the clearance of gratuities from 1 billion naira to 3 billion naira. He made the announcement at the 12th Umitutun Ramadan lecture in Ibadan. The governor also assured that arrangements are in place for the direct airlifting of Oyo pilgrims to Saudi Arabia from Ladoke Akintola International Airport in May 2026. Makinde further donated 1 bus each to 7 mosques across the state. In his sermon, Sheikh Jamiu Sanusi advised the governor to avoid sycophant and urged residents to remain content. Kogi State has secured the license for the Ajaokuta Economic City Free Trade Zone, a move aimed at reviving industrial activities around the Ajaokuta axis. Governor Osman Ododo received the certificate in Abuja from the Nigeria Export Processing Zones Authority, following early approval by President Bola Tinubu for the 4,000-hectare industrial city. Ododo described the development as a historic step toward unlocking the state's steel and solid minerals potential and attracting local and foreign investors. It said the free trade zone would reposition Ajaokuta as a major economic hub in West Africa, leveraging Kogi's strategic location and mineral resources. And in sport, midfielder Ngozi Okogie has said she's excited to return to the Super Falcons after a long absence. Okogie last featured for Nigeria at the 2022 Women's Africa Cup of Nations and missed the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. The 32-year-old took time off due to pregnancy and childbirth, but has now been recalled for the upcoming friendlies against Cameroon. She described the invitation as an honor and said she's focused on taking things one step at a time. Okogie has earned 27 caps for the Super Falcons. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast and X at Dominion Cast. And that's Daybreak News. I'm Oluwayemi Adelako saying thank you for watching and good morning.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Cast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
January 16 and February 6. Well, those are not the dates of today. Meanwhile, those are the days when the election will now hold in the country, Nigeria. And that's been on the lips of everybody talking about it. At some point, the INEC released a time that will now, probably be the time for Ramadan next year. And so there were claims at the Senate chamber to change that date. So the date has been fixed for January 16th and February 6th for the forthcoming election. Of course, welcome to this very segment of newspaper headlines and analysis, where we check into the print and bring you stories that are breaking and developing across the nation. Particularly of interest are stories, on the print, the front captions, the big captions, and the bold captions on the newspapers this morning. And getting into the story, that is, of course, one big story you should look out for. January 16 is the date you have to keep in your calendar, mark it somewhere, because you have to vote. I mean, this is your responsibility as a Nigerian. It's our responsibility collectively, but it's also much more importantly, your responsibility. That's your voice, that's your power. So use your power, right? And moving on from that conversation, but perhaps there's still a lot of things under that conversation. The Electoral Act still in question. Many people asking and begging answers to say, what do we have from there? Can we repeal this? Can we make this? I mean, so many things to talk about. Party primaries are to begin by April 23. So there's even less time for preparations for the forthcoming election. Some have also alleged that, yes, it's a chance that the INEC body will have their disbursement about 6 months to election period as against the 12-month proposed period for that disbursement. But will that cause problems or hiccups? Maybe not. But of course, they must now be working. And that's one of the things we're seeing, that if the date has been fixed and it's going to alter some things, then we need to start we need to hit the ground running as fast as possible. And that's the conversation right there. Meanwhile, that will end by May 30. That's party primary. So parties really need to, get their act together, get their heads together, and really brainstorm on how to get the best of this with that limited time frame. So that's very important that they do, because if you were supposed to be the allotted time they gave to it in February before now, maybe they still have a few more months to do something. But now it's like the time frame has reduced. There's want of time with political parties. There's that. They might complain, but I think what they should do now is to swing into action, full action, take measures that would help them to go forward. Meanwhile, the governorship and House, of course, September 19 as well. That's exactly how it's going. The presidential or National Assembly is August 19, and Governorship House is September 19, 2026. That's also something to talk about with regards to that. Meanwhile, I'm on Daily Sun newspaper and talking about dailies. This morning, the front caption also reads, "Assassination attempt on Obi, APC absolves self, blames ADC." That is also one of the captions on Daily Sun newspaper this morning, as you can see on your on the front page on your screen now. We have evidence of airfare manipulation by domestic airlines. FCCP PC came out to say something about this. That was also in the news, that they discovered a particular hike in the air fees or airfares, you might want to say, in December of 2025, and then that is not commensurate with what we have in January 2026. So there was a more like they said there was something fishy right there, because the fares were not because there was fuel cost increase or increments. It was not because there was something that requires that they have to put the money on people. But yes, the FCCB have come out to say that, you know what, we saw a bit of manipulation somewhere in December of 2025, especially in the aviation sector, and they are looking into it. But of course, that's what we were saying. We need answers, right? And we should get them. Supreme Court's focus is to strengthen public confidence in administration of justice. That's coming from CJN, as the Chief Justice of Nigeria. From that end, I will not leave PDP, Makinde vows. We focus on competence, good governance, shun personal loyalty, and that's according to the governor. Meanwhile, there was a meeting between Kwakwanso as well as the governor for your state a few days ago, a couple of days back, and there were conversations as to what's exactly going to happen. Is there a chance for NNPP to come to your state to have its full, because we understand the Kwankwanso, of course, the leader of the Kwakansia movement is also in the party NNPP, and is really helping. He's one of the ringleaders, or should we say, the heavy giants in that team. So, but maybe they are trying to introduce. But anyway, the case is now that the governor for your state, Engineer Seyi Makinde, has come out to say, you know what, guys, I'm still in the PDP. I will not leave, and that's a vow. But it is politics, right? So politicians sometimes cannot be taken hook, line, and sinker, because once they say something, is because their interest is still there, and the second their interest is out of the window, you can as well tell they will fly through that window and get into another, because it's transfer window for them. I mean, that's like football, in football parlance, right? Moving on from that now, opposition parties reject amended Electoral Act. That is also something we'll talk about in the meantime. Meanwhile, I'll take my focus away from Daily Sun newspaper to Vanguard newspaper. And on Vanguard newspaper, of interest is one story I think you should be interested in, and that's about INEC moving 2027 polls to January 16. Meanwhile, Osun gubernatorial election is supposed to hold August 15, 2026. So that's exactly one of the things we're seeing right there. Yes, as you can see, Osun Guba holds August 15, 2026. So it seems like now that's like a test, right? That's the first test of Amukwiton as the chairman of INEC to see what would happen come 2027. So whatever happens in any election that is being, even local councils, the recent one in FCT, is making people to now say, okay, maybe we can trust or maybe we cannot trust the people. Why? I know trust is something of importance to everybody in Nigeria. We've talked about this, but the funny part of trust is, especially in the democratic system in the country, is this, trust is built in drops and trickles, but trust is lost in buckets and tanks. So that's the unfortunate situation, because it takes so much to trust, but it takes so little a time to distrust, and distrust sometimes can take longer or forever in the minds of people, and that's one of the systems we've created in the country. It's more like an allegory that was going to happen every now and then. So it's just the same that people don't trust systems, you don't trust government, you don't trust leaders. But we want to move on from there and get the best of this. We don't want it to get the better of us, but we want to get the better of all of this situation, because we sure can. Now, 2027 is also of interest. It's something right on the front burner today. Atiku, Obi, Amechi, Mark, Galadima, others reject electoral law. So there was that conversation at the Senate chambers, and then the Senate leader yesterday told them that you need to follow the due process to go about this. If you want this to be repealed, you have to follow the due National Assembly or the constitutional process to maybe alter this. Meanwhile, some are saying, is there any altering about this? Maybe not so sure. But right on the very top corner, is on your screen now, FCCPC indict airlines over inflated fares during Yuletide. That's exactly the story I referred to earlier. As you can see, meanwhile, I'll go to the Guardian newspaper for want of time. The Guardian is saying something that is of interest as well. The front caption is also about INEC. Meanwhile, INEC ignores Electoral Act protest, shift 2027 elections for Ramadan. That's on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. So much to read about that, so much to consider. And fingers crossed across board for that situation. We hope this will be one of the best elections we've had. Very fair and credible. We hope that will be the case. And that will be the testimony of Amukwiton come 2027. Maybe by March, we should have, of course, February, we should have the results. And we should have the president to be decided, president-elect in the country, Nigeria. Moving on from that story. Still on the Guardian newspaper, federal government insists on state police awaits legislative backing. That is also something to look out for. Federal government insists on state police awaits legislative backing. That's exactly the case. In fact, some have put it this way, that the president wants them to, speed to make this as fast as possible, to let it get into the law as much as we can and as fast as possible. And that seems like a good one. We've talked about the police, and this is not even, it's not new to anybody. We've talked about this, but we are also saying that there has to be some strategic movement into this. We don't just say we want to have this without having some things in place. Let's ensure that governments and political parties will not use this to their own advantage at the expense of the country or the state they belong to. We are hoping that there's going to be a lot of intelligence into this as well. Education as much as you can. A lot of things need to be in place. Those are the foundational structural, strength that can make this work, or should make it a working document that would be acceptable by every Nigerian. We expect this to happen, and we keep our fingers crossed on that as much as we can. Senate faults zero capital, demands accountability as ministers defend fiscal reforms. That's also something to check out this morning. Senate force zero capital, demands accountability as ministers defend fiscal reforms. That's a story on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Meanwhile, terrorist attacks on Nigeria, Benin, Niger borders, Benin, that's Benin Republic. Niger borders rose by 262% in 2025. Well, that's a report right there, talking insecurity and the neighboring countries in the continent, I mean to say. Now, over 100 terrorists stormed Benue villages, killed 150, witness tells court. Another incident that is not appealing. Meanwhile, 2027 post is also something to talk about. Yoruba Ronu withdraws support for APC backs ADC. That's a coalition of some Yoruba sects, Yoruba Ronu, withdrawing support for APC and backing ADC. That's also something to look out for. Come 2027, there are many palpitations, rustling of feathers, raising of dusts, and of course that's expected as we also know in the country. Federal government deepens credit corp, targets wider coverage and disbursement. And it's also something to check out this morning as well. Bauchi governor says 10,000 well-armed bandits attacking communities. That's coming from Bauchi state governor saying that 10,000 well-armed bandits attacking communities. That's a story you might want to catch a read on page 29 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Constitutional amendment delay fuels anxiety ahead of 2027 elections. That's also a story right there. Constitutional amendment delay fuels anxiety ahead of 2027 elections. That is a story to read out this morning. Now, distillers barricade NAFDAC Lagos office over alcohol sachet ban. And I think this sometimes can be a funny story, but other times we might also need to look at it from the angle that we have to ensure that whatever is going to be in the interest of people, not at the detriment of people, because there's been complaints about all of these issues, especially the alcohol sachet ban that some will call Pelebe. So there's been that claims that it's going to take jobs from people, and then some feel like, okay, this is what we used to, like they say, this is what we used to move on, like one for the road. But others have also called for the implications, the medical and the health implications of having a sachet or 2 sachets every day. But that's the conversation on many grounds. Some are saying, let's have it. Some are saying, please don't scratch it. Don't make don't make a ban over alcohol sachet in the country. So that's exactly that conversation. But I know some persons are interested in this conversation, but I'm not sure so many Nigerians are. But if you are, perhaps you can drop us a comment in the chat box, right? Meanwhile, DSU declares total war on police corruption and impunity. Well, some would say that for every new person that comes on board, there's always something to say. But how much more that translates into reality is another conversation, because we know we don't just want to hear the talk. We've heard talks, but we want you to walk the talk. That's what Nigerians are saying. Now, there's been a lot of people, some are saying that Tunji Disu, the Inspector General of Police, should not have been. Others are saying, well, whatever the case is now in that role, and let him deliver, let him do as he wishes to do. And of course, we are also keeping our fingers crossed and saying, yes, we support you, but we also want the best for the country, because we understand the security, the fragility of our security system and architecture in the country, but we want that to be really worked on. And that's one thing that is not too much to ask for, is it? I mean, I'm not sure that is. Tinubu decorates acting IG, demands new NPF, that's new police force, right? Nigerian police force. That's something to check out and look out for as we move on. Now, Nigerians are my bosses, DSU pledges. That statement that police is your friend, is it really real? Some Nigerians are asking questions about this. But this has come out to say this, that Nigerians are his bosses. Maybe it's to say that I'm serving you, I'm responsible, directly submitting and responsible to you, to your cause, and to the cause of the Nigerian state particularly. So I'm not really partisan. I'm not going to associate with the party just because of gains at the expense of the people that I'm supposed to serve. That's the promise of the new RGP to the people, saying, you are my bosses. Are you the boss of Disu? I mean, I can ask you that question, but maybe they say, time will tell. But meanwhile, time's up for lawless, dirty officers, says new IG. The new IG is also making claims that, okay, it's time up for you guys. And that's on the Punch newspaper. Meanwhile, that the Punch has so many very punchy headlines as we are seeing this one. Time is up for lawless police officers and dirty officers in the country. The new IGP has said that, and that's right on the Punch newspaper, the front page. Tinubu to Senate, amend constitution for state police now. That seems to be, the now part is one of the things that is more important to everybody now. To say, yes, we want that to be a thing in the country, to be a working document, amend constitution for state police right now. So that's a conversation right there and something to look out for. Meanwhile, some other projects are still making the rounds, especially recapitalization. 13 banks raised to meet March 31 deadline. These and many more stories are really making the rounds. And of course, for one of time, it might not take so much more. We'll also continue with every of the program, or the belts on the programs that we have today. Still have talking point from the big story with Samson Balogun. Stay with us, and that will be after this break. And don't go nowhere.
right, good morning and welcome to The Big Story, where we go beyond the headlines to examine the ideas and initiatives shaping our society. Today we shift the spotlight to a different kind of intervention, one that moves beyond charity and embraces empowerment as a long-term solution. For decades, support for vulnerable women and girls has come so often in the form of donations, relief materials, and occasional outreach programs. While these efforts matter, a growing movement insists that the real transformation requires something deeper: mentorship, structured health advocacy, economic empowerment, and deliberate prevention of gender-based violence. So, our focus this morning, beyond charity, how mentorship, health advocacy, and GBV, gender-based violence prevention, are transforming women's lives. And joining us is a woman at the forefront of this work, Ogunremi Onyedamola Aramide, founder and director of the Ability Women and Girl Child Empowerment Initiative. Now, let's take a look at historical facts and things that has happened in the past. Across Nigeria and much of Africa, women continue to face structural challenges: limited access to healthcare, economic exclusion, social stigma, and the persistent threat of gender-based violence. But increasingly, organizations are redefining and refining what intervention means. Mentorship is no longer just guidance, it is access. Health advocacy is no longer just awareness, it is prevention and survival. Gender-based violence prevention is no longer just activism, it is protection, policy engagement, and systemic reform. The question now is not whether women need support. The question is, what kind of support truly changes outcomes? Is empowerment sustainable without economic independence? Can we discuss women's advancement without addressing health realities? And how do we move from reactive responses to preventive strategies in tackling gender-based violence? It's a very big question. These are the issues shaping today's conversation. Thank you for joining us. Onyedamola Ogunremi Aramide, good to have you on this show.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for having me here.
Good morning to you. So let's talk about you as a person and what brought you to start this movement, which is Ability. Some would want to say, even the spelling has a different meaning. It's spelled H-E-R, which is talking about the girl child.
Yes.
So, who is Onyedamola Ogunremi?
Okay. Thank you once again. Onyedamola Ogunremi is a mother and once a girl child. I am a woman that loves to help other women, and I am someone that wants to make an impact. When I look inwardly at what is happening presently in this society, I see lots of damages, and I am of the opinion that you cannot make a good wife nor a good mother if you don't heal from your past experiences.
Okay.
Yeah. So coming from someone that has been there myself, I had my own fair share of lives. I've seen so many things. I've been through so many things. So it was accumulation of those painful experiences that actually shaped me and that brought me to where I am right now. Yeah. So I believe we can do better if we have enough information, and if one or two people could actually stand up and talk more about what women are going through. And now, ability is not just about women.
Okay.
It is indirectly saving our men. Because men as the perpetrator, when it comes to women, gender-based, female gender-based violence, of course, in most cases, of course I know, that is why I said, I specifically said female gender-based violence.
Okay.
Yeah. So men are most times the perpetrator, right? And what causes that? We have to like look beyond what is really happening. Why do they do what they do? And how can we help it? You know, when people hear gender-based organization like Ability, they feel like, why do we think women need help?
Okay.
And indirectly, we are actually trying to help men by trying to sensitize our gender, the women gender, both girl child and
the adults, mothers too.
Yes. Because when you look at it, it actually goes back home to the family. Everyone has a female in their lives. Is it that you have them as a wife, you have them as a mother, child, sister, yeah. And it's still coming back to our men. Because when I look, I see things around me. I've seen males around me go through things that they could not say. And of course, the society is not really helping out. Because as a man, you are supposed to bottle in your emotions.
Okay.
We train male child in such a way that
You are a man. You don't have to talk. Don't complain.
Exactly.
Just move on.
Yes, you don't cry because you are a man. And why? Mothers, that we can raise emotional oriented men. And that way we can stop gender-based violence.
So you mentioned something about beyond charity. So at what point did you think charity alone is not enough? That advocacy is also an important thing to do?
Okay, from the very beginning. So Ability actually came as an inspiration. It was a direct instruction. It is something I had to do. So then it's it is related to my past experiences. It wasn't easy growing up. There are so many pains that I could not even share with people, even up until now. Even if I have healed from those pains. And I made some mistakes while growing up that I'm not really proud of. Yeah. And those experiences put together, like I said earlier, shaped me and brought me to here.
So what gaps did you notice from the traditional intervention models that you think Ability can actually fill up? Why I said that is that the usual traditional models, people say, oh, you are married, your husband, probably is into gender-based violence, definitely beats or punches, and then the parents say, oh, because you are married, because of your children, you cannot leave. So what are the gaps? What exactly do you think Ability can do to fill up in those areas where traditional models fail?
Okay, so that is where training the girl child comes in. So firstly, we have to build the confidence of our girl child. They should know that their worth is not limited to the four corners of the kitchen. They should know that they are beyond whatever anybody calls them. They are what they call themselves. They should know that, okay, I've seen older men go through pains in their old age.
Okay.
Where women manipulate children.
The children against the father.
The father. You understand? So, but when we try to talk to our girl child, they know the wrong from right. Yes, women, I can say for a fact, because I am also a woman, right? That's it is a kind of strength for us. We are manipulative.
It's a skill.
We are manipulative and we are very good at it. Okay. Yes, we do a lot of jobs in that office, and it could actually be a strength if
put to good use.
Exactly. So how can we now do that? We have to focus more on our girl children. And now where women came in is because this child, when we go out and talk to them, we go to schools, we talk to them in schools, we try to build their confidence. I share my own life experiences. Yes. So the things
you have gone through and how you healed from.
Yes, I've healed from. Things I could not even discuss with my own mother, and all of that. I try to share that with them. I try to let them see things from my own angle. If there's anybody that should become something like a terror, yes, in the society, yes, that should be me. That should be me. Yeah, but look at me today. We are not there yet, but we are progressing, right? So, and these children, there is limit to what we can do because we have limited time with them. When we go to school and talk to them, they go back to their mothers. So what happens to those when they go back home? So we have to talk to the mothers too. There is a kind of, I would always say, I tell my mom, I said, the kind of bond that every child has with their mom, it is something that no man can compare with. So I think it is wickedness when you now try to turn the children against their father. It is weak because even the man cannot compete with the love that those children already have.
So that is even enough.
Exactly, it's enough.
Okay, when you talk about transformation,
okay,
what does that mean for someone you have actually worked with? When it comes to transforming, you have worked with this person and you feel this person has been transformed one way or the other. Has learned one or two things and is transformed. So what does that truly mean? And how does that person move on going forward?
Okay. So I've had time with ladies, women, girls, and when they share their experience, you see that when they behave, I'm this person, I'm very deep on life. I try to say, why do people behave the way they do? Why do you? Because there are some things that I just feel, it is not
Before
normal.
you condemn or blame them.
Yes, I feel like this thing is not normal, but there should be a reason why this person would behave this way. So I try to see what are the things that probably at some point in their life went wrong. Why are they where they are? So we talk to them. We try to see, we don't judge. We try to see what are the things that has gone wrong in their lives. How can they come out of that first? And see, because I would say that when you forgive people, you are not actually doing that person a favor. You're actually doing yourself huge favor. Because, when you resent someone, you see that person, you are not happy. And happiness, sorrow or sadness steals your own happiness. Right. You are stuck. Anytime you see that person, anytime you think of that person, you are stuck at that phase. And it will be very difficult for that person
move beyond
that
space.
So when you forgive people, you are actually, see beyond.
Do yourself a lot of favor.
Exactly. So see beyond you doing this person a favor. See it as if you are doing yourself a favor. And you are doing so many other people.
So one of the things that has made women victims of gender-based violence is poverty and dependence.
That's
okay,
true.
So how important is mentorship in order to end the cycle of poverty and dependence in the girl child and women too?
Okay. So firstly, we have to let every woman know that, like I said earlier, you are whatever you call yourself. Have a goal. So the first thing, that is where, when we talk to them about self-esteem, confidence, self-worth, and all of that, that is where it comes in. You are whatever you call yourself. And you are the only person that can limit yourself. If you can think of it, you can achieve it. You don't have to suffer. So then that, sometimes gender-based violence happen when women tries to tolerate. So I've been a victim of one before in the past. I saw it. That's why I will always say that most times the red flags, the signs are there, we ignore. most times we ignore. So I've been there, I saw it, and I will always tell people it was so glaring. But I thought I could change an adult. So I thought I could, the love we shared at the time is enough
Could
for
make
this
him
person.
switch from his old characters.
Imagine me trying to change.
How difficult is it to change an adult?
Very difficult. You can't change anyone. They can only change themselves.
There's nothing one can do to change anybody.
There's nothing you can do. Because it is a mindset. I am whoever I think I am. If I think I am nice, I am nice. If I think I am kind, I am kind. And if I think I am wicked, I am wicked.
We have seen situations where women will say, oh, it does this. But maybe when we get married, it will change it because of me. That's the biggest joke of the century.
I'm telling you. You think, and you know, when gender-based violence happens, the perpetrator most times would come back. Sometimes they tell you it is the work of the devil. They tell you they are not in the right
And then
state.
the manipulation streak starts.
Yes, and because most times women we love with our heart and not our head. I was there once.
So what's the difference? Loving with the heart and loving with the head?
Yeah. So yes, loving with the head. I like this person. I'm in love.
But you are seeing all the wrong signs.
I'm
and you know
seeing
what
all
to
the
do.
exactly, because I choose myself. I know who I am. I know I deserve more. And marriage, relationship goes beyond my feelings. At some point, the butterflies don't matter. Sometimes what you even feel is not even love, is infatuation, is lost. So you have to like know the difference.
Separate the two.
Exactly. And try to know who you are. You know, at some point I started saying, okay, this is my standard. If a man is not like this, it's a no-no for me. If this person, even my friends, my female friends, I know what I know what I give and I know what I expect in return from you. So if this person is not this, I am not going. And people will look at me and say, don't you think it is too much? It is not too much, because I at the end of the day, it will be me against me. It will be me. And the fact that, you know, the fact that this person has wronged me does not say it will not do well with another person.
Okay.
Why do I have to hold myself to ransom and let me be treated in such a way that would traumatize me and every other person? You know, earlier I said I'm of the opinion that no damaged woman or girl child will make a good mother. I'm telling you. And you cannot give what you don't have. If you are damaged as a child, there is tendency that your children will be the victim. I'm telling you, because you will transfer aggressions. Go and look at it. Women are frustrated and they vent out those angers on children, on their children that they claim to love. And the children begin to learn thinking that was the right thing to do. Of course. You would see mothers saying, men are scam. I don't even want to have anything to do. You know, the child is in that state of mind that will believe whatever, because of course the mothers are the first teachers. You believe whatever, and this person is talking from experience. So most times when you hear people tell their stories and you don't have the privilege to listen to the other person, just know that there's no smoke without fire. Something should have happened. And if you are this person that you feel like it would always be the other person's fault.
So what role does economic, we are talking about different kinds of empowerment, advocacy, teaching them, mentoring, but then what role does economic empowerment play in reducing vulnerability to exploitation and abuse, especially in marriages? Okay. So, my gender does not define me. You know, for some organizations, they believe because you are a woman, you will not do well in some positions and some places. That shouldn't be. Let merit count. Okay. I've listened to men saying, you are listening to a woman.
I don't have anything to say to you because you are a woman. Does me being a woman make me a fool or stupid, you know? Does me being a woman makes me less a human? I am a woman, yes, and I wear that with pride. That shouldn't limit my ability or how far I can go in life. Give me the same opportunity you give to men. And sometimes, you know, have you seen successful marriages? Most men in those marriages listen to their wives. Everybody has their roles to play.
Okay, in your experience, what are the most neglected health issues affecting women and girls at the grassroots level? Because this is also reasons why people are vulnerable.
You know, because women has lots of, or a lot are expected of women. So we tend to ignore our own health most times. You know, when you say some things, even when a woman, when a woman is feeling a bit down and the child or the husband is down, she will rather take care of
them first
before tending to her own. So before you could see a woman that would say, I am sick, I want to seek help, or you should know that it has gotten to a stage that
she could not take it anymore.
Exactly. So we tend to ignore most things sometimes, and that is why things affect women. I could remember there was a time my mom, that should be about 2 years ago, she was sick, and this woman would always go to work. She woke up very early, go to work, and she was sick. And, you know, she was just down one day. I insisted, Mom, you have to visit the clinic. We went to the hospital and we discovered that her blood pressure was around 170.
Wow.
And she got back home. She rested for a day, 24 hours, and the next day she went back. And in about a month, she ignored every sign. We went back, it was around 210. You know, if not for God, things could have
gotten out of hand.
I'm telling you. So women tend to ignore their own health challenges, and because sometimes, you know, women believe children, most times our children are our priorities. Women, we love children. We love our own children more than we love our lives.
So we, as humans, often respond to gender-based violence after it has happened. So what is ability doing to make sure that it doesn't happen? Being proactive is very important, and it is a very sensitive case. Most times, sometimes when these things happen, it eventually ends in homicide. So what is ability doing to prevent rather than react? Okay.
So what we'll do firstly is we try to sensitize women on how to raise the boy child right. Okay. That is why I said these things still come back to the men. We tell them how to, because it is when we talk to women, we've been talking to women, a lot of organizations, the government has been talking to women most times, and nothing has changed. We are stuck. We are at the same place we were 20, 30 years ago. So what do you think the problem is? So that means something is wrong. We are not doing something right.
If you train a girl child well and marries a damaged man,
that's
you're still going back to the same spot.
So then we have to go to the root of the problem, the foundation, raising the boy child right.
Raising both right from the beginning.
Of course. So we don't just talk about you raising your girl child right. Because when you raise yours right, and
someone else's son is coming.
Of course. You will still come back to, and the truth is you cannot choose who your children would meet in the future or who they will end up with. Sometimes there is limit to what you, because like I said, I've been there. At that point, I told someone, I said, even if at that point, someone has advised me that, okay, I don't think it is right or it is wise for you to do this thing, I will still have I'll say I've done the same thing that I did back then. Because first thing is I don't have access to enough information. I was young and naive. I wanted to run for something. I ended up making more mistakes.
Okay. So what role should religious organizations, traditional rulers, and religious institutions do in all of this? What role should they play?
You know, our major problem is religion. We believe, divorce is a sin. Is a sin. So you have to like endure it. And because they will tell you, if you should leave that marriage, you are not permitted to go into another. You are not even worthy to find love again because you've chose. Even if when you were choosing, you don't have access to the right information or you don't even know what you were doing at the time. Or you were not wise enough to know the wrong from the right.
The left from the right.
Yes. You understand? They still want you to stay there, endure it because of, it is not right. And at the end of the day, you are responsible for your life. Nobody will be there. Because if you are not happy, you will do a lot of things if you are not happy.
Lot of wrong decision
making. I'm telling you, and it will affect so many other people. At work, it will affect people if you are frustrated. You transfer aggressions. You see market women, you get to their store, you want to buy, things are not going their way, they lash out on you, they say you enter the public transport, people start saying all sorts of things that why is this person behaving like this? You understand? This boils down to the religion borders. I think it is high time we start. Yes, I don't want to say divorce, I don't want to talk about that. But then if that's
the only option, it should be done.
It should be done. You are responsible for your life.
Okay, so what role is the government playing in all of this? And has there been any form of collaboration with NGOs like yours to see that the right things are done?
Okay, so I think the government.
Or are the NGOs now doing what the government should originally be doing?
Yes, because we have lots of, especially gender-based NGOs around that talks about gender-based violence and related issues, because have you seen cases where there is a violence in the home and you make a report at the station and the police is telling you it is a family matter, go back home and sort it out. Where do we run to? If the government cannot save us,
at that time,
where do we go to? If the religious body cannot save us, they make you a topic on the pulpit. They talk about what you have discussed with them in the closet. Where do you go to? Or is it what the public reactions will be on social media?
And the stigma you won't get to face after that.
I'm telling you. There are some places, there are some positions you will be exempted from because you are a divorcee or because you are separated. Nobody cares about your story. What they cares about is they believe if the marriage could not work, it must have been your fault as a woman. Too much is expected of us. Too much. And the society is not favorable for
women.
Yes, kind of. When it comes to that.
Gender-based violence.
Yes.
Okay, now, very quickly before we go, let's talk about Ability as a brand and as an NGO. You have some programs running. So when do you conduct these programs and where do you do them?
Okay. So most times, because I'm more passionate about the young ones.
Young ones.
Yes. So we visit the schools. When we are going to the schools, we want them to feel more important. We visit the markets, we talk to the women, and of course, we celebrate women, girl, child on special days, like the International Women's Day that is coming on the 8th of March. We have a special event where we'll be screening between 100 to 120 women. Yes. So we are partnering with the Oyo State Primary Health Care Board, PPFN, SHI and MSI, and Authentic Woman. So where would be not just the screening alone, we want to talk to them. We want to make them feel important. We want to let them know they are not alone and their stories are true. Yes, and we are with them.
So on what day, and of course, where's the location?
Okay, so that will be, so because 8th of March will be on Sunday. Okay. So it was postponed till the next day, which is 9th. On a Monday. Yes, on a Monday. So it will be happening at Ibadan Southeast, Makbo. Okay. Yes. So from 8 a.m. till 3 p.m.
From 8 a.m. till 3 p.m.
Yes.
So if for any reason one wants to reach out to you as regards this event, so through what social media handle?
Okay, so Ability is on all social medias. We have Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And also you can chat me up on WhatsApp. Okay. 070-19175109. Okay, it has been a wonderful session with you, Oyindamola. And we'll do hope to bring you back some other time to discuss extensively about the role of government in making sure that they forestall gender-based violence in our communities. Thank you for being a part of the show. Thank you for
this morning. All right, as we conclude today's discussion, one message stands clear. Transformation happens when support moves from sympathy to structure. Beyond charity lies strategy. Beyond intervention lies empowerment. And beyond conversation lies sustained action. If mentorship can unlock potential, if health advocacy can save lives, and if gender-based violence prevention can protect futures, then the responsibility rests not just with organizations, but with communities, institutions, and policymakers. Sincere appreciation to Ogun Remi Oyindamola Aramide of the Ability Women and Girl Child Empowerment Initiative for sharing an insight and perspective on the critical issue. Thank you for watching The Big Story this morning. Samson Balogun is my name. Good morning, and keep engaging the conversation that matter. Up next is Trend Watch. We'll be back after this time out.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB Van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live? Like never before. Book the OB Van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram @Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
Thank you for staying tuned to Daybreak Live today. Of course, that was an insightful conversation with Samson Balogun this morning. I mean, those are conversations which you keep having.
Absolutely.
And I'm switching focus to the trend watch today. Something is trending. Perhaps you've received it before we even start the conversation. And that's about something quite expressively declared by the Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun. He came out to say that, it's good, the government of Tinubu have, given like 9 million households, Nigerian households, have received direct cash transfers. So I think I was asking a few persons around me today. 9 million households, 9 million Nigerian households have received direct cash transfer. Anyway, so the question is really, sometimes when they make this kind of statement, how does it reflect? But if you check the bigger picture of the story, this puts us on like the third borrowing countries after, I think Pakistan and Bangladesh as well. So this while it's something to discuss, because you have to understand that the money was actually borrowed. It wasn't as though this was just any kind of money in the country that we have. It's something that we are borrowing to make cash transfers to people. Now they're saying they want to support households and people who need this money. But the question again is, when we borrow money, should we borrow money for charity, or should we borrow money to maybe for economy, for development? But some would also say, if it's for development, like they claim in Nigeria too, somebody can still take it all by himself. So it's better that they send it to 9 million households, which does not include my household. But that's the question and conversation really, that sometimes when the government comes out to say, we have given this, how much of that can be believed? And to what extent? I was also doing a bit of research to discover how many households we have in the country. I discovered, according to a particular international body, HELG, that says that we have about 49.5 million households in the country, Nigeria. Now, federal government is saying they've catered to 9 million out of that, so it's about 40.5 million households that is left uncatered for. Maybe I'm part of the 40. Of course I am, because I didn't receive the cash transfer. But I think Samson is excited because he probably received something from the federal government.
Well, you never can tell. You should ask Michael. He's probably one of the beneficiaries. And he should give us an insight of how that was done. But away from that, that's just by the way. I think we can be considered as a bunch of jokers in Nigeria, especially when it comes to strategic governance decisions. How do you borrow money and then become Father Christmas overnight? Even as a private investor, you borrow money for a business and then you start calling your family members to do transfer to them. Does it make sense to you? It doesn't. But then we can trace this back to National Social Investment Program, which originated under the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari at that time, when he came on board. Before then, under the Jonathan administration, they had the SURE-P and some other programs that catered for the less privileged and also had to do with agriculture at that time. Then came the Muhammadu Buhari administration. They had the trader money, farmer money, and then the NSIPs, some other NSIPs, including the conditional cash transfer. And under the Buhari administration, the conditional cash transfer, CCT, was part of the National Social Investment Program designed to support poor and vulnerable households with direct cash stipends to help cushion poverty, improve consumption, and provide social protection. So let's talk about the numbers, because it's very important. When we talk about the numbers, it gives us an idea of how much has been spent. I mean, we can say how much they say they have spent. Let me put it that way. 1.6 million households, about 8 million individuals were reported as benefiting from the CCT program, receiving bi-monthly cash. And the earlier figures from government sources in January 2021 indicated about 1,414,983 households enrolled, covering more than 7 million individual households members. But then, because the program ran over several years, especially around COVID-19 period, different counts emerged as more beneficiaries were enrolled. And the most commonly cited estimated from Buhari era CCT coverage was around 1.6 million households nationwide receiving payments through the NSIP. Now, the reason I had to go through that route, how much was the stipend being given? It's a very big question. Beneficiaries were selected from National Social Register. Who created that register is a question of poor and vulnerable Nigerians. And also, another big question is, payments were typically made electronically to bank accounts linked to beneficiaries. How many poor Nigerians have bank accounts? It's a very big question. Some of them don't even have BVN, NIN. They don't have national identity card. So if you are talking about the poorest of the poor, as they mentioned, okay, who are the poorest of the poor? Certainly not me, not Michael, not Anu. But these people are in villages, remote areas. They don't even have bank accounts. And you are saying you are transferring to electronic bank accounts. I mean, that for me, I suspect, foul play. Away from there, stipend amount was around 5,000 naira per month per household, sometimes reported as 10,000 naira every 2 months. I mean, for crying out loud, if you go to Bodija Market now with 5,000 naira, what exactly are you bringing home? And how long would that last you in your household? Probably a day or two, depending on the number of people that you have in there. But I can tell for a fact that it might not last more than 24 hours, even if you manage. If you buy things that even ordinarily you wouldn't buy if it was you going to the market. If you want to manage, it won't last you more than 24 hours. Now, if you are saying you now give such an amount of money to the poorest of the poor, people who can afford to open a bank account, I mean, this is misplaced priority. The federal government should go back to the drawing board and understand the fact that there is never any palliative measure you can bring on board that will suffice in Nigeria. It will not work. One, we don't have a proper national register. Okay? About 50% of Nigerians are not registered. If you check the number of Nigerians, you can check now. They have BVN and NIN. How many of them compared to the 250 million Nigerians we are talking about? So if you are saying you are giving money to the poorest of the poor, I don't understand how you got the idea that the ones you are giving are the poorest of the poor. I will cite an instance. During the CCT distribution, I was opportune to be at Oluyole. I think that was 2021 or thereabout. People were getting monies in Oluyole Industrial Estate. They were being given money, and that time it was cash. I think that was the reason why the Minister for Humanitarian Affairs under the Buhari administration also had an issue. I want to remember her name. They would take money to some places, put cash on the table and start distributing. This is not Father Christmas, for crying out loud. There should be accountability for everything we do. It is a no-brainer to now say you start blowing money that you borrowed. Okay, invest this money in roads, infrastructure, in water, in every other thing that makes things easy for people. We are not saying you should subsidize power. We are not saying you should subsidize oil. I mean, that is talking about petrol, diesel, and some other things, even jet fuel. Don't subsidize. Leave it at that. But make life easy for people. Okay? If there's an enabling environment for investors to come in, meaning that when they invest, we have competition, because it's not just one company dealing with all of this. There's competition and prices will be forced to go down. Look at what is happening between NNPC, importers of fuel, and Dangote refineries. Every now and then, if Dangote feels like he's being threatened, his business is being threatened, whether artificially or deliberately or intentionally, he reduces the price of fuel. And then the importers will have to hold on. What sense is there when you import fuel and we have a refinery that can provide 650,000 barrels per day in Nigeria? The same case is happening at other strata, areas of development in the country. Some people are just there, benefiting and feeding fat on the blood and flesh of average Nigerian people. Let's go back to the drawing board. Let's design a new national register First off, before you do that, let's have the national population census, a thorough one at that. Let's go to the nooks and crannies of Oyo State, of Lagos State, of Abuja. Let's know how many Nigerians we have genuinely that are Nigerians. Then create a register from there. Automatically register them for NIN, BVN through the census. And when you do that, we have an idea, that even if you have a shortfall, it might not be more than 10% of error. Mm-hmm. And then we'll know at least we are there. The rest will catch up by the next time. And then when you do the national population census, don't just count numbers. Take their fingerprints. Let's have a database, at least something close to reasonable database in Nigeria, for crying out loud. Since 2006, there has been no census up till this time. This is 2026. Census is meant to be conducted every 10 years. In reasonable environments, it is done every 10 years. In Nigeria, since we had 2006, 2016, it was postponed. Until today, 2026, nobody is talking about census in Nigeria. And this is the best way for us to get accurate data. Let's know how many Nigerians we have. Let's have the database. And then when you want to talk about the poorest of the poor, that is how you know them. So if someone sits in Abuja and says someone is poor in Oluyole, I say it's a lie. Let's go to the nooks and crannies of Ibadan. Go to Popo Yemoja. You will see the poorest of the poor. And you are taking these monies to Oluyole. And you say you are giving monies to Nigeria. I don't believe that. I don't want to speak for other people. That money has been mismanaged. Prove us wrong if it has not been mismanaged. But then let's take comments.
Taking comments. Kayode Abraham says, no. Akunwa Ogochukwu says, I and my family no see 1 penny. If your family received money, say I. If no, say
nobody,
nay.
You will not find one person in the comment section that will say we have received money. It means that one way or the other, I don't want to believe all of this. But then that's all we're going to take on the show.
That's how much we go today.
This morning. We say thank you for being a part of the show all through the week, Monday to Friday. Join us again next week, Mondays through Fridays. Same host, same station, Dominion Television, Ibadan. And as I will always say, accountability is not the job of one person. Hold the government accountable. Ask questions. When you do, they know you know what you are doing. And then, of course, you put them on their toes. Samson Balogun is my name. Until we meet the next time, which is on Monday, keep being good out there. Keep being safe. Bye for now.
And I say, thank God it's Friday. Of course, enjoy the rest of the weekend. And join us again, same time, same station next week. Bye for now.